some bean and cheese burritos to go, or like mini tacos to go inside of the freezer. And I just realized I have corn tortillas, so we're gonna see how pliable these are and how much they work. If they don't work, that's fine. This is a Mexican cheese. It's that white crumbly cheese. I never say it right, but here you go. It's delicious. It's great on salads and just about anything. I mean, we love it. We eat it all the time. But I put it in the freezer so that it's a little bit easier to cut and to crumble. And I'm gonna use my salad shooter. I might not need to use my salad shooter actually. This looks really good. I don't need it, it crumbles perfectly. So it still crumbles. This is the first time I put it in the freezer. Normally I just go ahead and it's usually gone. But I already had some out that we were finishing, and so when I bought this one, we only had to use just a little bit. Okay, so I'm just crumbling the cheese. I'm just kind of breaking it apart. Use your hands, get on in there. And you don't need a lot of this, it has a lot of flavor. So sometimes, you know, the kids will say, oh, there's no cheese, but there's plenty of cheese because this has a strong flavor. It kind of reminds me of feta. So if you like feta, it's kind of like that. You see how it crumbles? It kind of looks like feta. It has a similar flavor to it, to me. And if you don't have this and you can't find it in the store, you can use feta. I think that would be fine. Ooh, that one's hard. Remember, this was in the freezer, so it is a little hard still. I'm just crumbling it up. Whew, that's hard. And again, if I didn't have this in the freezer, this would crumble so much easier. The parts that were warm were already crumbling. But I've got my little cheese knife here, and I'm just using that to kind of grate it up and get that in there. And then we're gonna test out these tacos here. And I haven't tested this recipe with these corn tortillas that I bought. This is a different brand. I live in Texas, so we have H-E-B fresh tortillas made daily, and that's what I normally use. I know I'm not sponsored by them, but I'm just saying that's what I use. I'm gonna go ahead and scrape this in there. See how crumbly that is? It looks like Parmesan cheese. Oh, it's so good. It's like magic. Okay, get all that goodness in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my tortillas, and then I will be back in a minute and get everything set up. All right, so I am getting started. The tacos are not gonna work. So I'm gonna sit down and I'm actually gonna spray my pan. I got a little pan, and this will just be like a quick little enchilada, cheese enchilada, bean and cheese enchilada baking dish. So I'm gonna put this right here, get everything set up, and I'm gonna start rolling. So I have the beans that I made earlier. And so I'm just gonna, they're still warm. Made these in the pressure cooker. And if you want the recipe for this, then I'll link that below so you can check that out. See how creamy they are? They are delicious. So I'm gonna get most of that juice out of there. And just like one of these spoons is probably more than enough. I'll add a little bit more. Okay. Add that, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of that cheese. Don't need a whole lot. I'm just gonna roll it. And I am not the best roller. I make egg rolls and lumpia and all that stuff all the time, spring rolls, and I am horrible. Horrible. It's like I'm brand new to it. Well, you would think I was anyway, but look, it's already falling apart. You see it over there? It's trying to escape me. So I'm gonna try to move a little bit quicker so I can get all these in there. Oh, it exploded on me. Sometimes it's like that. We sprayed our pan. I'm layering our pan with some corn tortillas. think 2 is enough. And then we're gonna add some beans. It don't matter if you make a little mess, it's okay. But we're just gonna make I was gonna make a taco or enchilada, but it just doesn't wanna work for me, so we are going to make just this little casserole. And so when I was growing up, my mom used to make pinto beans and just layer it with cheese, and that's how we would just eat it. But I'm gonna add these tortillas in here because, yeah, tortillas are yummy. They're yummy, they're yummy. And that was one of my tortillas that fell apart. But again, it's not always gonna be perfect. You just make it work the best way you can. Okay, I'm gonna spread that out. You wanna make sure that you do get enough juice on the, you know, sides, because you're going to bake this in the oven and you don't want the sides to get too burnt. Just sprinkle a little bit of cheese. And then we're gonna add this puppy on there, and we're gonna add one more. Again, these were my homemade pinto beans. So you don't have to use homemade. You can use a can if you want to. You can use refried beans if you want to, but I just like homemade pinto beans. To me, they just have so much more flavor to them, and they're fresh. You know, these were made fresh. They're so good. We're gonna add, because this casserole is actually gonna be for 3 people, me and the kids, for lunch. I'm gonna add another layer and kind of make it thick on there. And I'm going to grab a spoon so that I can put some juice on there in just a second. And the leftover beans that I have will be for tacos that we have. Okay, so that is perfect. I'm gonna add a little bit of the juice. And again, you wanna make sure that nothing is left, you know, uncovered. And we'll sprinkle with a little bit more cheese. Okay, not a little bit, a lot more cheese. Okay, and I have some, I think this is mozzarella. Yeah, I have some mozzarella that I had in the freezer, and I'm gonna add this to the top. Kind of make it like a casserole. And this is still partially frozen, which is fine. And I'm gonna actually put this in the freezer. I could save it, but we have, you know, some tacos that we're gonna be eating, so this is a great lunch for us. I can take this straight from the freezer and put it into the oven while the oven's preheating, and take it from the freezer, put it in the oven, and then cook it for about 30 minutes or so until it starts to warm. And I would probably cook it on about 400 to 425. Just depends on your oven temperature. And then you'll always test it, you know, put a knife down the middle and test that out. But here we go. I think that's more than enough cheese. And that is good. I'm gonna top it off with a little bit of our fresh made pico. Not too much, because it was spicy. And if you want to see the recipe for the pico de gallo, I'll also link that below so you can watch that. Because I used 2 different chili peppers in here, and I give you the reason for some of the seasonings, the way I do it. But you know, if you want to check it out, it'll be linked below. Thank you so much. Please like, share, subscribe. Let me know if you've ever done a casserole like this, if you've ever used that cheese that I was telling you about. But here you go. Let me clean that up a little bit. And you are good to go. All right, have a great day. I forgot to mention that I'm actually going to cover this, and I did say I was gonna put it in the freezer, but you can cover it with foil, you can cover it with press and seal. whatever you want. You just want to make sure that it's gonna be able to stay in the freezer for a week or two. This probably won't last for more than 2 weeks in our freezer, honestly, but it may end up just being a really light dinner for us. But again, for me and the kids. But I'm gonna cover it with some press and seal, and then I'll also cover it with a little bit of plastic wrap, and then go ahead and throw that in the freezer. Okay, so here's my little sheet of press and seal that I'm using. I just want to cover that up so it doesn't get any type of freezer burn. That's good, and then I'll cover this with saran wrap on top and place it in the freezer.